Ladies and gentlemen, we are back. We are live. We are here. And it's time for another episode of Always Almost There, Day After Show. We took a couple off this past weekend. We didn't have live recaps for the Resonance shows due to lack of stream and boards. And Neil and I spending the weekend at Peach Fest, which was a lot of fun. So we will be talking about those shows in much greater detail on our summer tour recap episode, which will obviously be after the end of summer tour. They'll get some mentions here and there in the rest of the recaps this week. But we are here today to talk about last night in Asbury Park, New Jersey, July 3rd. I've got two fine gentlemen here to help me out, Dylan and Anish. How are you guys doing?
Good. How are you?
Fantastic. Dylan, is your first time on the pod. Nish, you were here during the Ryman run.
Yeah, during the Ryman trip. Yep.
Nice. Well, good to have you back on. Really excited to talk about this show. This is a really, really cool show to talk about. So let's start with you, Dylan. You had quite the trip getting to Asbury Park as a fellow Torontonian. But tell me about your experience getting to the venue yesterday, where you were, what the vibe was like pre-show.
Yeah. So vibe was great. It was very hot as the first thing. It was calling for like lightning and thunder this whole, couple weeks leading up to it. And then it was boiling hot. So I brought a poncho and I obviously didn't use it. Getting to the show. I took a train from Toronto to New York the previous day. It was like a 13-hour train. Then I trained from New York here to Jersey the morning of the show. So, it wasn't too bad. I pretty well rested, and it was really, really hot. It was the first thing when we got there.
Right.
It was incredibly humid, and there were points where there was no breeze. They packed that place. It was tight all the way to the very back of the venue. You can walk in. So
I heard about that, and you're from the South too, so you don't say that lightly. Really hot.
They had all the way past merch, basically to the front gate where everybody entered, was completely packed with people. You couldn't get anywhere, and it was tight. And but everybody was dancing. Everywhere you looked, everybody was dancing. So everyone still was having a good time.
Good. So vibes were high, despite being packed in. Vibes were high. I love it.
Very high.
Great to hear. Well, let's start off with the first set here. First three songs: Wild Night, Elizabeth, Indian River. Niche, start us off.
Wild Night opener, Van Morrison cover. That was great. I think everybody was really excited, and it kind of set the tone. Everybody got something that they a lot of people who had never seen Goose before kind of had a song that they could get introduced and kind of get up to speed right away as to what the vibe was. And so I think that kicked off the night very well, and that was right when the sun was starting to set, so everything was the vibe was great during that time. And then I don't know if you want to add anything, Dylan, to that.
Yeah, it was really, really nice cover, nice way to get started. Nothing too nuts. That comes next with the Elizabeth, but I'll save that. Nothing too nuts to start, but really, really nice cover. I wasn't overly familiar with Goose's cover of it, but really great. And I agree. Vibes were really nice at that point.
Yeah, I think Wild Nights, they do it really, really well. I know there was a little bit of controversy over the last Wild Night because it was a pseudo All I Need second jam that very quickly, got ripcorded into Wild Night, which was, by the way, 67 show gap on this Wild Night. No one's here to tell me that it's a 66 show gap. It's from October 6th last year. New Orleans was the last time it was played. So, been a little while. Definitely didn't expect this coming, but it was indeed a Wild Night, I think.
It was.
Well, Elizabeth and Indian River here. Dylan, you kick us off with these two songs. Take me through how you were feeling, what you thought of both of these.
For sure. So Elizabeth, admittedly, is not my favorite. It's not what I look for. However, I think last night converted me because that was oh man, everyone was going hard. Really, really energetic feel in the entire place. Everyone was really dancing hard, grooving. The Elizabeth was really great. I also heard a stray Clav tweet yell from the crowd. So
yes, yes,
everyone around, yeah. And
I love it. I love that people are yelling it.
It's great. I enjoyed it. It's a nice
involved.
Yeah,
awesome. Awesome. And Indian River, what did you think of that?
Indian River is one of my favorite songs. It was one of the ones that I was chasing. I've only seen 3 shows. This was my 4th, so I got just lucky to see it, and I love that song so much. It's the synth solo, and it's just so like blissful and beautiful, and I can't say enough good things about it.
So we were talking about. Sorry,
I was gonna say I'm a huge sucker for the Welcome to Delta Jam too.
Yeah.
So like right when that kicks off during the second half of the song, like everybody like starts just like getting really groovy, and it's exciting. You know,
yeah,
that's when you know the energy is really starting to kick off. But yeah,
you can tell
was unreal.
Yeah, so. you can tell. You know, Spuds especially loves playing the Delta Jam. Just watching him like groove as he's playing the beat.
It is an incredible groove, and so
yeah. It's a lot of fun. And this Indian River was on a 22-show gap coming off of last played in Bozeman, which is like really long gap for the song, potentially the longest in the song's history. You know, obviously there are a lot of gaps in set lists going back to 2016, 2017, what we have access to. But this is the longest gap in the era that we have fully recorded. So pretty cool to see that. You know, interesting. I'm curious why it was put on the shelf for a little while. You know, last year we saw it, you know, go on the shelf middle of the year in between, you know, the original arrangement with the Delta, and then it came back later in the summer with this new 80s synth arrangement, which they seem to be sticking with. I think this is the longest one arrangement of Indian River has stuck around in a few years. Which is it's interesting to look at, you know, and the Elizabeth as well. You know, I always feel like Elizabeth is a great song for early first set. You know, this one was like 13, 14 minutes or so. Nice chugle, get the crowd grooving into the jams a little, but nothing crazy. You know, you can get something like the Warfield version, which is phenomenal. You can get something like this, which is just fun to hear.
Yeah, it was energetic more than like anything like, you know, out of the ordinary, but it was super, super fun.
Yeah, definitely setting the tone well.
Yeah, awesome. And then the set continues with our first big jam of the night, Everything Must Go, or Everything Must Goat, as some people are calling it already. But this was awesome. You know, we get a nice modulation. You know, Rick modulates the jam first, and then Peter pushes for one later on in the jam. You know, there was somebody on Twitter trying to tell me that Goose doesn't improvisationally modulate last night. I was like, no, he modulated in the middle of improvisation.
Yeah,
that's how it works. But you know, this song is one of my favorite Goose songs at this point. I think like every time it starts off, I'm so stoked. I'm so excited to hear it. I love the way that they've been jamming it recently. So Nish, how are you feeling?
I think Must Go? I was really happy about the version we got last night. I feel like I have recognized like 2 main versions, which I call like Everything Must Slow, which is like the really like beautiful like, you know, jam that they go into, and then they have the one that they played yesterday, which is like similar to like the first time played Pullman Yards version that I do. And I like when they do that, it's just like such a happy feeling the entire time. Like the entire jam just kind of is just slowly climbing, but it just ramps up, and it's great. And especially like at that point, I just remember like the way that the wind was blowing, they had like the smoke on the left side of the stage, and it would flow across the front. And that's when we were starting to like fully shine through, and everyone was like, all right, this is going to be a fun night. But yeah, definitely like huge fan of last night's Everything Must Go.
Love it. Dylan, what about you?
Yeah, also one of my favorite songs, another one I was chasing. Oh man, I really, really, really love this song. Yeah, I thought it was a really, really nice version. Actually, something to note during this version was that there's actually like a medical something in the crowd up front. Someone passed out. It was so hot. Multiple people passed out from what I've heard, and there was like a bunch of people, you know, raising their hands and getting security. But I think they came pretty fast and they got up, and it was all good. But yeah, it was like I was listening back to some Everything Must Go of the jam today, and I was noticing, I'm like, I didn't even remember that because I was so, you know,
right. You were kind of, the vibe was off a little at that moment. Yeah.
A little, but it's interesting. I'm glad they're okay. And what a good band listening back. And I love that song so much. Yeah.
Yeah. It's really crazy to me. Like, you know, I was hearing like the venue wouldn't let you bring in an empty water bottle either or anything, which is crazy, especially with the temperature, what it is right now, you know, for these shows. Like, everyone make sure, thank you, Anna. Everyone make sure if you're there, drink a lot of water before the show I know some people are probably going into the venue in like an hour and a half, but drink a lot of water before the show, get hydrated, stay hydrated.
And I think they had water bottles too, which is nice because it wasn't like the liquid death cans, which is nothing wrong with that.
Oh, okay, that's good.
You could like at least cap it and hold on to it much easier to that too.
Yeah, awesome, good. Well, next up, set finishes off with Turn Clouds into Animal. Pretty standard first set fare here. It felt like there's a little extra dark build in Turn Clouds there for like 10 seconds or so. Thought it might be going somewhere else. It didn't, but it was still cool. An Animal, it's just it's this point now where it's just like super like laid back and relaxed. Peter hitting the vintage vibe hard in this jam, which sounded great to me. It must have sounded great on the beach. Dylan, take us through these last two.
Yeah, so I happen to really like Turn Clouds. I think it was a nice placement to put it after one of the newer songs because you get a classic right after that, so it's like a little bit of a balance. So I did like that. After a more sentimental song, you get a more fun kind of, And I'm trying to think. I think correct me if I'm wrong, I think the clouds came out like blocking the sun during Turn Clouds. I don't know, but may have noticed that. And Animal was good. I saw the Animal. I was at the Salt Shed night too. That Animal I really, really like it. I don't know if this one was quite as good, but I still really enjoyed it and just a nice way to cap off the set.
Awesome.
Yeah. I think the one thing I noticed about Turn Clouds was like everybody was singing that song at the top of their lungs. And I was like, oh my gosh, like yesterday was show 19 for me. I don't think I've heard like a group of people in like an outdoor space like all like yell a song like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah, I love it. Neil and I were just talking about the other day about like the Bourne and Arcadia sing-alongs that we had like last fall. The Bourne in Richmond, the Arcadia in Atlanta at Pullman, where it just felt like the crowd was really getting into it, really singing the lyrics, and so it's awesome to hear that happening in different songs and here and there. So super, super cool. Now we move into set break. Obviously the sun's starting to set. I guess the temperature was hopefully cooling down a little bit. But Nish, what were you feeling like at set break? Did you move around at all? I know it was tough to move around.
Yeah, I made my I moseyed on back to the merch and snagged a poster. But it was interesting during set break, and I'm sure Dylan will talk about this too. They kind of made an announcement literally right before they came on for set 2 that that there is a thunderstorm possibility and that they might have to evacuate everyone. So like identify the nearest exit near you. And everyone was like, well, that's putting a really damper on everything. And then literally at the moment they came that they said that band came out and like luckily weather held off and we got a full second set, which was nice. But
awesome. So that's really interesting to happen at set break. Good thing that the weather didn't hit. Did it hit after the show?
No, I don't think there was any weather that ended up happening last night. I think it all breezed by us, which was like
fingers crossed that holds tonight. Dylan, how were you feeling at set break last night?
Yeah, I was feeling good until that announcement. I was finally feeling, the weather's going to be all good. And then you see this cloud creep in. You're like, I don't know. And then the announcement comes up. But then Peter comes maybe like 2 minutes after that guy said that and kind of freaked everyone out. And Peter goes, oh, man, what a night. This is great. And I think it makes
That's awesome.
Yeah, kind of
I love it.
About that.
I love it. Well, take us into set 2, Yeti into Creatures. This is a hell of a pairing. Immediate entry into the Goose Segway Hall of Fame. Just what a moment. It perfectly went into each other. I love the fact that they used Yeti as a springboard. Didn't need to come back and finish it later in the set. It just opened up a little. And we've talked about on the pod before how Yeti kind of feels a little bit standard. Sometimes, it's like, okay, 8 minutes, Peter guitar solo, whatever. So I like when, they hang back. I think the Yeti was around 9-10 minutes before they fully went into Creatures. But, you can hear the moment when Peter starts to bring that Creatures in and it's like, oh, okay, here we go, which was really awesome on the webcast last night. And this Creatures for me is just 20 minutes of just hose, just the energy and obviously the fireworks and just everything happening in it is so, so sick. So Dylan, take me through how you were feeling these first 2 songs of the set.
Yeah, this Yeti was so fun. This is my first Yeti, Creatures, and Arcadia in a row. So
amazing.
So that was nuts for me to be able to get that. Yeti, the way they just threw in the Creatures like a little tease, and then they went back into Yeti and then back into Creatures. Like, forget about it. It was so good. And the Creatures, like you mentioned, like the fireworks started, I think, when the jam, like the arpeggiator stuff was starting to happen. And oh my God, it was just everyone like not even knowing where to look. Do I look back? Do I look at the stage? I don't know what to do. Do I take video? What am I doing? It was just such a great experience. Everyone was having such an amazing time.
Amazing. Nish, how are you feeling?
Yeah, no, it was, I completely agree with what he said. It was, it really turned up the level of energy, especially at that point. Like, it had become like fully dark outside, so Getty's lights were really punching through, and Yeti kicking it off was like a dance party. You know, everything, like the moment you hear that first like bass hit, it's like everything goes off from there, and then Creatures coming through, and then honestly, like when the fireworks started, watching all the band members' faces as they were looking at the fireworks too, and I was just like, honestly, that's just as much fun looking at the fireworks in themselves, because they're in awe. I'm in awe. Like, it was like, what was the sensory overload? Like, that was like the only best way to describe it. Like, at that point, I was like, this is incredible. I am so happy that everyone is out here right now.
Yeah. And I don't think we've seen a written set list from last night yet, but it definitely looked like Arcadia was an audible from the band. You know, I think that was when Rick went back and said something to them, but that was like like, we got to play Arcadia right now. Like, this is the moment as the fireworks are going off. You know, only like a 10 or 11 minute Arcadia, but, you know, super, super hot. We do have a question from the chat for both of you. Was Yeti Creatures Arcadia the jam of the year from, you know, the complaints department himself, Vickers? So do you guys think it's the jam of the year?
I think I saw Vickers tweet that earlier today. Yeah. So do I think it was the jam of the year? I don't know. What do you think? What do you guys think? It was great.
I think it was. I think a lot of things put it in that category. I think, you know, all of those 3 songs being in the order that they were, with all the stuff with the fireworks happening at the same time, kind of like perfectly aligned. And I think, you know, with the audible, the Arcadia, the band recognizing the energy that they were pushing, you know, really helped with that. And so I think it could definitely be jam of the year. But yeah.
Jam of the year. Very important. You heard it here first. Just so everyone is curious, still not allowing segues in the bracket. Thank you for asking. Next up, the set, you know, we get Electric Avenue, the first time since, you know, its very interesting appearance at the Cap and Okeechobee right at the beginning of the year. You know, nice and groovy, little synth action, and then crazy 20-plus minute drip field to end off the set. You know, I thought Dripfield was coming tonight, and so I left it off my fantasy last night, sadly. But this was an amazing Dripfield. Peter really at the forefront, those klezmer vibes that we hear all the time, that we talk about, really all over this jam. So, you know, like Dylan, Electric Avenue, Dripfield.
I thought Electric Avenue was such a cool continuation of the energy. It was just it's such a feel good song that everyone knows that it's after the fireworks. I feel like it's hard to find something that people, you know, because when the fireworks are done, it's like, okay, how do you keep the vibe going? I thought Electric Avenue was a great opportunity to do that. The lights during Electric Avenue, I have to say, were so cool. And right after Electric Avenue, that drip field, how they go into like that Spanish theme, that was so great. Or I don't know how you would phrase it, but it was so great. I had an amazing time. That was my third drip field.
I call it klezmer. You know, like,
klezmer, that's what you were. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, Nish, what about you?
No, I completely agree with Electric Avenue, like really helping keep that vibe after the fireworks, and then the drip field, I thought it was fantastic. I thought just like, you know, the first half of it before the jam got going was just so sonically tight, and I feel like they're adding so much like intricacies into that song since the first time that they've played it, like stuff to like the way that Rick's vocals echo to like different synths use. It's just like, it's amazing how much more space they're taking up and how like large they just sound. and then like with the drums going, all the percussion, everything I think really culminated into like a really tight and a really solid like set to ender.
Yeah, it was amazing. I think that this set has two things that are likely to make my Jam of the Year playlist, and I have a lot to slot in right now. After the weekend at Resonance and last night, so need to get that going. But then we get a nice little Magic Carpet Ride encore. Always fun. Coming in just under curfew. Clock management was excellent last night. Set break was like 20 minutes. It went on like 20 minutes after showtime. Like, they're killing it on this tour.
Yeah.
Shout out. We've done this already, but shout out to Sam King for keeping them on the clock here. But Nish, what were you feeling about the encore and just, the end of the show as a whole?
I thought Magic Carpet Ride was like a great choice for an encore, especially with the night 2 today. And so, you have encores which can like really just set the tone. Like, this was the end of like a 3-night run or end of 2-night run, or just like a 1-night show, like a one-off show, and I think it really kind of was like a launching pad to keep the energy going into tonight, which I'm really sad that I'm not there. But I thought it was a great, final song. Everybody was singing that song. And like you said, like, time management was great, and it wasn't like overzealous in the encore, but it was like, enough to keep people excited for today.
Yeah, absolutely. Dylan, how did you feel about the encore?
Totally. Yeah, that's also one of my favorites that I was looking to catch as a cover. Just love that song, and that jam is just so fun. And I thought it was really nicely succinct. It didn't go crazy, and it kind of I think they end like right at 10, something like that. So
yep.
Really, like you were mentioning, really good clock management, and I just thought it was a great way to cap off the night. And I'm going to now keep the energy up for you. I got to leave soon.
Perfect. And we got a good point from Vickers here. The new drip ending was much happier. It's the same theme, but Rick was just shredding it at a high octane level. At the end of Drip Field, which was so cool. I love the way that sounded. I hope that's a trend that continues. Yeah. Then he then did the normal quieter thing to like really end it off. But I love that little progression that happens there. Mm-hmm. It's very cool. So we're back tonight. Nish, I assume you will be joining us on Couch Tour this evening. Dylan, go rage.
Thank you.
Go do that. And I'll see you on Friday at SPAC, which I'm very excited about.
I don't know. There were some storm clouds, so fingers crossed.
Well, fingers crossed that those hold off and don't rain. Of course, we will be back tomorrow at 3:30 Eastern. Just to say it on the pod in case anybody, didn't see on Twitter, we are going to continue doing our set list threads on as normal on Twitter. But if people, aren't aware about the whole rate limit nonsense that's been happening the past few days, if for some reason the Always Almost There account does get rate limited in the middle of the show, the set list is always being updated live with footnotes, all that good stuff on elgoose.net. So you can always head over there to check that out. So thank you, Dylan and Nish. Thank you both so much for coming on the pod today. It's been a pleasure to talk to you guys. Have a fantastic show tonight, Dylan.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah, man. Have a good show.
Thank you so much. Happy to be here. Thanks for having me. This was great. And also, shout out to Anthony, who's keeping my place in line right now. I said I'd shout him out, and I want to do that. So.
Shout out to Anthony. Thank you for doing that so Dylan could be here, in a proper manner, if you will. Well, we're going to let you get back in line and hit the show tonight. But thank you, everybody, for listening to this episode of Always Almost There Day After Show. Have a phenomenal day and night, and we'll see you next time.